So Risk Leadership Network that Tom will tell you a little bit about have adopted Power BI to deliver on their dashboards. And we'll start by saying, Tom, could you just give a little bit of background about Risk Leadership Network, what you do, who you are, and who your audience is?
Of course, yeah. So the Risk Leadership Network is a corporate network. So it's a membership organisation, essentially. We've got about 60 corporate members based around the world. And the specific audience within those companies are senior risk managers, but also their teams. And these guys will work for large cap companies globally. We've got to focus primarily on the UK and Australia, but we've got risk managers from the Middle East, from Africa, from Europe. So it's a global network. And the main focus for us is on knowledge sharing. So we're encouraging, facilitating peer collaboration. And this is done primarily through meetings that we organise on specific risk topics. So they're an exchange of practical advice between peers, and they'll be based around specific challenges like how do I improve risk culture in my business. But alongside that, we provide instant messaging and something like a concierge service where risk managers come to us with specific challenges that they need help with, and we'll help solve them using our network and contacts. And finally, we use Publish Interactive's platforms to provide guides, templates, and tools that help risk managers do their jobs.
If we could just talk through before I think you're going to show us the actual dashboard, what your challenge was. You had a set of data, or you wanted to create a data product. What was the thinking and the approach to this product?
So I was brought into the Risk Leadership Network. I'm a freelance contractor, and I was brought in on contract as head of product to do product development primarily. The network had a request in March last year to look at ways of making it easier to find out what other companies were including in the risk section of their annual reports. So there's this regulatory requirement for large UK listed companies to talk about their principal risks. But there's not a huge amount of guidance on the detail that they're supposed to include. So things like how many risks they should include, what sort of level of detail to include in the report, this sort of thing. So we found our members were trawling through their competitors' annual reports to find and catalogue some key details that they wanted to be able to compare and then benchmark themselves against. So are we writing too much? Are we writing too little? Are we missing out some key points that everyone else in our sector is including? So there was scope for the Risk Leadership Network to do the legwork once and benefit all our members. So we can gather in that data, and if we can present it in a nice way, our members don't have to go through that process each year. So it's a big time saving. So I started talking to some risk managers to find out what specific information they find useful for this sort of tool, and started building a sample data set. But obviously one of the challenges we have is how to present that data. So it's fairly complex. There's quite a lot of different data points to bring in, and a straightforward Excel spreadsheet was never going to cut it. So happily, at about the same time as I was looking at building the data set, I saw that Publish Interactive had introduced a Power BI integration, and I've been using Power BI since about 2015, mostly for internal data, for analysing sales information, audience interaction, that sort of thing. And I've always found it to be a really good tool for displaying complex data. So I could see how it would work really well with what we were trying to do. So I had a conversation with Publish Interactive about how you'd gone about the implementation and for a demo, and it looked really well set up. So based on the knowledge that we could build this in PI, I built a prototype with some dummy data, and we started demoing it to the Risk Leadership Network audience. Everyone we spoke to really liked the approach. We refined it a bit, obviously, with the data points we were capturing and how we were presenting the data. But all in all, it's really positive. So we went ahead and built it, and yeah, gone on to do, I think, two more tools on a very similar structure. So it's worked well for us.
Because your members were already using the Publish interactive platform to access reports and briefs, etc. So they're already in the ecosystem. So we added in the Power BI. So they didn't have to go to a different system. It's already there. And from your point of view, it was very easy to deliver that.
It was. I think that was one of the appeals, is that keeping a single login and not having to worry about going to a separate site is a big benefit, and it fits naturally with our other templates and tools that we were developing on the Publish interactive platform. So it made a lot of sense from a user experience perspective, as well as being a solid platform to deliver what we needed to. So this is the standard Publish interactive report page. So when we open it up, we get the Power BI dashboard loads nice and quickly. So what we've got is a series of data points that risk managers told us they were interested in finding out more about, and you can see straight away there's quite a lot of data there. I think presenting this in an Excel format would be really challenging. But I think also the massive benefit here is the filters and the interactivity. So some of these, I mean, these are all fairly esoteric data points, but let's say you wanted to see companies that were listing emerging risks. You can click on the element and filters all the data so that you can see the detail that you want for that particular set.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, for our members, it's really important to be able to compare themselves by sector. So you could filter by, let's say you're interested in just the banking sector, and all the data points filter down so you can see the average number of principal risks within that banking sector. You can see all of the different ways that they're presenting information. You can see the detail. You could also filter it down to a specific indices. So let's say you're only interested in UK listed companies. You can filter that down to FTSE 100 and FTSE 250 banking companies. So it's really great. It's really interactive. It's really easy to filter the information that would otherwise be quite overwhelming if you saw it in one place. And there's nice little tricks. So I don't know how easy it is to be shown on a screen share, but this will take you straight through to the source data. And it will take you through to the page that the people are interested in. So it's just a really easy way of for our members to provide to access information. So.
And so far, the users, they find this intuitive, or you having to give much training and help?
So I think there's a mixture of responses. I think a lot of our companies use Microsoft within their corporations, and some of those will use Power BI as well. So some of our risk managers are very experienced with Power BI, and they'll use their own tools. They use it for their own dashboards. Others are perhaps less comfortable, and we've run demo sessions and are always happy to provide some guidance. But we found most members are fairly comfortable using it, just with a fairly limited amount of guidance.
Great. And in terms of the data sitting behind this, how often is this refreshed?
So we try to keep it as up to date as possible. So probably once a week, we'll do a sweep for any new reports that have been published. We pull out the data and upload it. So I think the challenge for us is around staying on top of the reports as they're being published. There's no real issue in terms of data flow. Once we've got it into an Excel sheet, it goes straight up very easily.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the challenge is the collection, not the delivery now. So it's in a sheet into Power BI, and your customer is seeing very much up-to-date data rather than waiting for a quarterly or annual update.
Yes. And I mean, with Power BI, you can schedule automatic refreshes, but because of the lack of frequency with at our end, it's not worth it. But if you did have a live data set you wanted to present, you can schedule it to refresh overnight, or
How have you found managing licensing with your customers? I don't know whether you're offering kind of enterprise licenses or they license to an individual level. What's your customer base, and how have you managed that?
So we have membership tiers. So there's companies can join at different tiers, and that's primarily based on how many users you want to be accessing particular resources. But the tools that we're delivering through Power BI are only available to the top two tiers, and it's been very easy from our perspective to split out the licensing for that audience. So we just created an extra category and didn't give access to the
things. Yeah. Okay. So this is all delivered behind a login, and if you paid, you can access it because you're licensed, and if you haven't, you can't. I mean, it's really simple, but managing that process is very complicated, and we've solved it, and it seems to be working well for your business, which is really good to hear. What do you think the main benefits for your customers has been with this new product and delivery mechanism?
So I think, yeah, the feedback's been really good. I think the main benefit is the time saving for them. So we're giving them something really of real practical value, and it's saving them a huge amount of time. So if you imagine the process of going through, let's say, 20 annual reports and finding the risk sections and compiling the data to analyze, that process is taking days or weeks even. So the ability for us to deliver something like this that's saving each of our members that amount of time is significant. I think from our perspective, the main benefit is how we can present the data. I think you mentioned at the start, Excel and these flat charts are traditional, but just not very helpful, especially when you're dealing with complex data. I think it's really hard to present data in an engaging format, and I think the more information you're trying to impart in one place, the harder it gets to understand it. So I think Power BI gives us the ability to present a lot of data in a digestible form. So I think there's over 10,000 individual data points at the back end of the report you saw, which in data terms isn't huge, but it's pretty unmanageable if you're trying to display that as individual tables and make it make sense.
Yeah, and of course you've still got control of the data as well. Whereas delivering for Excel, you've kind of lost control as a publisher or provider of data. You've got to have, I guess a lot of trust in your customer and some hefty licensing agreements. I don't know whether you allow downloads of data from within the system. Was it just the interface?
It's just the interface. I think, as you said, the data we collect, we've invested significant amounts of time sort of parsing it, and we're treating it as intellectual property that we don't really want to be downloaded. But we have had occasions when individuals have asked us to pull off a sample set, and obviously we can do that for them and provide them with elements of it.
Yeah, well, I think that's one of the key benefits of the Publish Interactive platform is the ability to lock down intellectual content and property. I meant intellectual property, not content, but some of the content is intellectual as well. There are challenges with it being distributed within enterprises. It's not always valued. Yes, they're breaking licensing agreements, but as publishers, it's something we've all had to deal with. So actually, by delivering dashboards, we can hopefully bypass those challenges of data leakage, I think, is the polite way of putting it.